Benjamin Elijah Mays once said, "I believe everyone was born into the world to do something unique and distinctive." I have been fortunate enough to have opportunities which have allowed me to discover my purpose and enabled me to fulfill it. Unfortunately, everyone has not had that same opportunity. Expanding how we understand education, building community, impacting and improving lives, promoting HBCUs, and encouraging lifelong learning. Dean Talk brings together various people to discuss topics which are critical to the improvement of education and equality in America. I am your host, R. Wayne Woodson, and welcome to this episode of Dean Talk. Hello, everybody. Happy February. Happy Black History Month. Welcome to the opening week of Dean Talk. We are doing a lot of new things this season. So some of you are used to the programming that we normally do. We're going to have that programming, but we're also going to have a lot of different things going on. So we're going to have people come on tonight. I have my brother, Rahim Brazil, on. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking home ownership. So we want to do things this season that will allow you to live your best life and to give you some types of education that are not based in the classroom. So I am very excited about this interview tonight. You know, we have conversations here. You never really know what I'm going to ask, neither do my guests. And I'm excited because there's a lot going on. He has a lot going on. He just had a huge opening, and we're going to discuss all of that. So I am excited to bring on my brother, my friend, influencer, Rahim Brazil.
Yo!
Hey, how are you?
What's up?
Nothing. Long day, but you know, we're here. Long day.
Was it a long, productive day?
Yeah, it was productive. You know, you can always find more time to do more things, but it was productive. I can't.
Yeah, well, that's great.
You know, it'll be an early day today, but it was a long.
Okay. Well, you look good.
Thank you. I'm trying. You know, I'm going to this gym, you know, every night, trying to get this old body back in shape. So we getting there.
Yes, I definitely understand that because I got to hit the gym too. I got to get back to it.
So first, congratulations on Dreamland ATL, the big opening. I was glad to be there. So congrats on that.
Thank you. I really do appreciate it. It's been a long journey.
Well, you know, I remember when you first posted you wanted a space, and then when you first started renovating the space. So to go in there and see what you had done, I mean, it was great.
Thank you.
So let's start way at the beginning. Way at the beginning.
How much time you got?
You know, it's my show, so you know I have as much time as I need.
Okay.
So we have the young Rahim.
Mm-hmm.
How did that person get to want to be a creative and getting to Atlanta?
So it was always in me. I've always been creating since. Well, I've always been like creative since like I would say even like elementary school. You know, I was always doing something creative, whether it was writing music, acting, or poetry. I always did something creative. Even like with my cousin, like we would just sit down and write little rap songs when we was in like middle school. And I remember like those days, and you know, I see like my life had it transitioned from one thing to the next. And you know, I always look at different ways to kind of like challenge myself to do more. And so I've that's always been my way of expressing myself. But it's also been of like kind of an escape for me to kind of like deal with some of the harsh realities that I had to deal with. It's always been kind of like my go-to thing. So like if I was going through something, I would write a song, or you know, and so you know that's how we got to get to the man that we're looking at today.
So where'd you get Rahim Brazil? Where'd that name come from?
Well, my name is Rahim. For
Right.
those out there, that is my name. Brazil was pretty much I was inspired to go to Brazil, well, a few different places. So Brazil, Paris, and a few different places. So when I was trying to change my name far as like my alias in entertainment, because it used to be Davion Talents back in the day. So I had a different stage name. And so I was like, I want to revamp myself, and I really wanted to use my name, but I also wanted to um have something that was part of my inspiration. And so Brazil was like a place that I was inspired to go to. And so I still haven't gotten there yet, but I'm going to go. And then yeah, it just when I said it, it just fit. And so yeah, where it come from.
So Brazil, that's an interesting place. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say they wanted to go to Brazil. I mean, I know people who've been there, but I've never heard that as a destination. Because normally, like you said, Paris, London. So that's
Hmm.
interesting.
Yeah, I
So
didn't think Raheem Paris would sound too good.
I don't think it would give off the vibe that you want to give off.
Nah. I was like, Raheem Paris? Nah.
I
Nah.
mean, it might be popular, but it wouldn't give off, I think, the vibe that you want to give off.
Right,
So when
right.
I first just discovered you as a creative, I mean, we knew each other before then, but you were doing
Yeah.
music primarily. I mean, like
Yes.
albums and all of that. So what made you really want to transition from music to all of the other 90 things you do? So how did the transition happen?
90.
Because most people when they get to music and they start being known, like that's it. Like I mean, you
Yeah.
were doing festivals and everything. So why did you decide to add things to the bag?
Well, um, I always see myself as as just a creator. I don't like to put myself in a box and say, "Oh, I'm just a musician. I'm just a director. I'm really all of it. And however I choose to express myself in that moment is what I am in that moment. And so whether that be me writing a script or writing a song, it doesn't take from the other, one from the other. And so what I try to do is share my talents and my gift simultaneously within each other. And so if I have a if I have an a creative acting project or like a movie or something, then you'll hear some of my songs in those movies. And I try to tie the two together in order to, this is about me really expressing who I am. And I really believe that I really can do it all. And I've been blessed enough to be gifted and talented, and standing in that truth today to be able to say I am talented and I am gifted and I do have multiple gifts, and I'm not going to limit myself to just one just because somebody says I have to pick and choose. However I choose to express myself is however I choose to express myself.
I mean, you've done everything. I mean, you got love songs and you got all the way to like we gonna be rapping on top of the car. So I mean,
Hmm.
and I think we have a lot of young creatives that watch this show, um,
Yeah.
and I know that it. And it's my show, so I can really say what I want to.
Yeah.
It's kind of like everybody's a stylist, but they're not styling anybody but themselves on Instagram. And everybody's calling themselves a creator, but they're not really doing anything. So
Yeah.
when you see those young people, I mean, some of them aren't even young. Like, what are some words of encouragement that you have? Because some of them are very talented,
Oh
but
yeah.
they all see the final product. Like they see where you are now, but they don't see the years that it took to get to that process.
Oh yeah, definitely the years and the struggle. The struggle, when I tell you the struggle is real. Like I came down here with absolutely no family. So there was nothing to kind of like lean on if things went to the wayside. I had to stick it out. And even till this day, like there are moments where a lot of people don't see where I am struggling and I am having a hard time and I am dealing with life things and finances and all of that, and I'm still encouraging the masses just so they aren't falling by the wayside in their gifts, because I know how hard it is, so I'm pretty sure that they're dealing with other things. So I would just encourage people to just stick it out, because one thing, you know we get distracted so much by what we have in front of us and what's going on that sometimes we put ourselves on, and our gifts and our talents on the back burner, and then we'll say we'll get to it later. Sometimes we procrastinate, and which is a number one dream killer is procrastination. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Well, what if tomorrow won't come for you? You know? And so it's I would just encourage any individual out there that's really trying to obtain success in any respective career that they have to give it all you got. Like that's really what it boils down to. Take no for an answer, be diligent and be strategic, stick to the task, stick to the mission, and when shit get hard, don't quit. You literally have to push through. Like because it ain't going all I wish somebody would have told me, hey, yeah, it's gonna be easy. You can go down on land, you can get known real quick. You can do this. You can. It's not that easy. Like I had to push through. It's like I'm still having to push through. Like I some days I feel like I'm overlooked. Some days I feel like I'm not recognized, or whatever the case may be. But you have to learn to love your gift enough to say, no matter if I have the recognition, no matter if I have um the people that's going to support me, the family that's going to support me, the friends that's going to support me. If I only have myself, am I going to sacrifice my time, my talents, my gifts in order to continue to push through to reach the level of success that I know that I can reach? That's all
And
it boils down to.
I think you bring up a very valid point. I was just talking to somebody earlier today about people are enamored with my image, being this R. Wayne the Dean and all this education stuff. But they don't know I sell bills. Like,
Okay.
and some of this stuff does not pay what people think it does. I mean, the impact on people's lives is amazing.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we're putting our own money into that dream.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are not in a place where they will invest in themselves at that level. Like I have, and I'm very transparent about my life. I've lost houses. I've had cars repossessed. There have been times that I have had to eat like ramen noodles. I'm not young. I'm not in undergrad right now. But it's like, do I pay the bills that it costs to do all my live shows, or do I go hang with my friends? Now there was a time when I was like, I was always at everybody's everything.
Yeah.
But you have to make some sacrifices, and in this pandemic, the only two events I've been at were both yours. I went to a movie premiere and I went to your opening. But let's just talk about some of the sacrifices you have made, because there are a lot of talented people
who
watch my show. So let's just discuss what are some of the sacrifices you've had to make.
Oh, a lot. I would say the biggest sacrifice that I had to make, and I did this in 2013, was walking away from my employer at the time because God was calling me out of that situation. And I was so scared. This was the first time I ever had to, listen to, because I'm big on my spirituality. I'm big on, my connection with God and being led by him. And, when I know that he's speaking to me, I can't get away from it. And until I do something about it, I'm not going to be happy. And so I was in a very tough position because I'm like, okay, well, you're calling me out of this position. What am I going to do about money? What am I going to do about finances? Like, you're calling me into directing, and like, this is when I was putting on like doing all of my work and acting and all of this. You're calling me into all this other stuff, but what am I going to do if I fail? And that's always, the fear is. So I had to sacrifice myself, my livelihood, my comfortability, in order to really go after. Because if you really, really want something, God gonna test you, see how much you want it. He's gonna test you. And the biggest sacrifice for me was making hard decisions. Um, that's going to allow me to get to the next level. Sometimes even walking away from people. Sometimes even um limiting like myself from going out like when I was when I was doing my movies and stuff, in which I'm still am, all those on hold. I'm editing 20 hours. I can't go out tonight. I can't. I can't go drink with my friends. I have to sit in front of this computer. You know what I'm saying? So that takes a sacrifice of my time in order to get things done. I need to reach my deadlines. And so there's a lot of sacrifices that you're going to have to make, and the sacrifice never stops. One thing that we feel like, oh, once we reach a certain level, oh, the sacrifice never stops. But no, we keep growing every day. So there's always going to be a sacrifice. It just depends, what are you willing to sacrifice? How much are you willing to give to yourself and to your art? And sometimes that's money. Sometimes that's taking that little bit of change and say, hey, well, I paid the bills, but now I only got this a little bit. And I don't really know if I'm going to be able to make it, but I really need this product or this item in order to make things happen. You know, that's the sacrifice. And so I've, when I didn't have any help, when it was just me and I'm the cameraman, I'm the sound man, I'm the man that pulling all the bags, the man that taking all the equipment out the thing, and like that's the sacrifice. When I'm in the studio, going from work from my 9 to 5, going straight to the studio and cleaning it up by myself, that's the sacrifice. That's what I have to do. And I'm proud to do it. And I'll do it all over again if I have to.
And then, what a lot of people don't realize is now you are at the point where it's not just you. Like, you have actors you have to pay, you have like there are expenses. So there gets to be a point where you're not just responsible for yourself. And I'm there too. Like, I have people have to pay for things to get done. So when it's like short,
okay.
I'm usually, like you said, the one that has to sacrifice all the stuff I want to do so everybody else can get what they need.
Yeah.
And that is not often talked about. Because at the end of the day, you're the visionary. It's your vision.
Yeah.
Everyone expects you to invest the most in making it work.
Yeah. I think my biggest sacrifice might have been putting myself on the back burner in order for other people to thrive in a way, or to gain recognition. Because there was a point of my career where I was in the front, and then all of a sudden I was in the back. And I pushed everybody else ahead of me. That was my sacrifice, but it was also my lesson, and it taught me that I have to have some type of balance.
Mm-hmm.
Because just like they have a calling, I have a calling. And so I can't, take myself out of the equation in order to make everybody else feel fulfilled. I still have to feel fulfilled. And that's where I'm learning balance now.
And I think that is a hard lesson for a lot of us, especially who are at our core givers and want everyone to succeed. That's a hard lesson for a lot of us to get. It took me years because most of my career, I served as the number 2 or the person behind the person who everyone saw. So when I like this platform where now I'm the one out in front, how I am. I don't like really talking to people. If I go to the event, everyone tells me like, "Are you okay?" I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like, even at your opening the other day, everyone kept up coming back, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine."
Yeah, you just.
I don't need to have everybody see me all the time. But then, my staff is trying to get me to the point where you're saying where I am in the front and there has to be balance.
Yeah.
I am the brand and you are the brand. And like, people need to see the brand function.
Yeah.
We have a question. Can sexual relationships with people get in the way of your career?
Definitely. That's definitely a random question. Because sexual relationships with people can get in the way of your career. And even I'm going to say even like relationships that like when it comes to like your spouse or your, even that can get in the way. I think everything is about diligence and balance and making sure that business is business, personal is personal. The two should not mix
Right.
at all. And so if you're having sexual relationships with somebody that you're doing business with, it can make things kind of hard, because sometimes, as humans, we naturally feel and our emotions sometimes get the best of us. And then, when we separate emotionally, now we have to separate professionally because we can't deal with all the emotional components that, so that can really affect, you know, business progression. And so it's so important to maintain those boundaries. It is so important to maintain those boundaries.
And I think that is worth exploring. So, boundaries are important. I have a very small inner circle. There are very few people that I call
Okay.
siblings. A lot of people don't have access to me. I have a couple cell phones, so you don't have
You got a
personal,
couple.
but I have to have balance in terms of access to me because some people don't understand those boundaries. And, I work in education and people think they should have access to me 24/7.
Yeah.
So now sometimes I shut off my email and one of my business phones, and people then they start texting my personal phone asking, am I okay? So I think boundaries are important. So what have you done to make sure that in your professional situations that there have been boundaries, not just with you, but now you have a significant other? Like, how do you make sure that those boundaries are kept in place?
Yeah. Well, one thing that I've learned how to do is exercise the word no. Because I used to be the person that, try to please everybody, want everybody happy and all that, and that is so impossible. And so I've learned how to say no, even when it comes to the boundary of people overstepping and trying to tell me how to run my business or trying to tell me what they think I should do. I've learned how to say, well, hold up, I'm doing things my way because this is the way I'm led to do it, and I'm all open for suggestions. But sometimes you do have people that wants to come in and swindle things and change things and not realizing how much work it took you to get to where you are. And so like, I think boundaries can be healthy, but we also have to make sure we're communicating those boundaries. And that's one thing that like I'm going to communicate how I feel, what it is, the truth of the situation. It will be transparent. It won't be negative and nasty, but I'm going to let you know exactly what it is so that way there is no confusion because I don't like confusion around anything that we have going on. If I have a task and you have a task, I don't want you to overstep your boundary into what I have going on because you're exercising your strengths, I'm exercising my strengths, and we're supposed to bring them get together and make it work. But if you like say like you're dealing with somebody that has a takeover spirit and they want to control every aspect of what's going on, it makes it impossible for you to work or collab. And so the boundary is okay, what are your strengths? What are my strengths? And what can we both bring to the table to make sure that everybody here is getting, it's like an equal opportunity thing. And so I exercise my boundaries. I let people know, when I'm what I'm able to deal with, what I'm able to not deal with, what I, like if it's something that somebody say, "Oh, I want to work with you on something," and I know I can't physically do it. Learning how to say, "I cannot do it. I just don't have the time," you know, opposed to, "Oh yeah, I'll do it," and now I got 25 things on my plate, and I can't juggle it all. So learning how to say no, and it's okay.
Or people take on things and then they don't do it with the level of excellence that people are used to, and then everybody's mad, including them.
Yeah,
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 that word no will save your life because
it will.
um, there have been health situations that I have had in my life because I've taken on so much that the stress just took me somewhere that I didn't need to go.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you mentioned that, because, when people are up and coming or they're trying to become a brand and all that, they say yes to everybody.
To everybody.
Everybody.
And that's unhealthy too, because you have to be conscious and aware of what you're attaching your name to. And I'm always careful of what I'm attaching and who I'm attaching my name to, because I want to make sure that we have the same vision, at least, of whatever we're doing, and we're trying to, tackle the same thing, or, like, I don't want to just, like, you may be, you know, let's just say you may be more too sexual for my brand. You may be, too negative for my brand, you know, and it's nothing wrong with that. That's just your brand.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, you know what I'm saying? I can't latch on to something that's not going to represent what because then it goes against the playbook of what I'm trying to accomplish. And so learn how to be like, well, it's just, and I've had offers from people, and I had to say, well, that's not really for me. So I thank you for the opportunity, but it's just not for me.
And I think that is important for us to talk about this more. So everybody wants to be famous. And I'll use famous for the two of us now, because there are a whole lot of people that know us in our respective areas. And so some people consider us celebrities, and I'm just like, I guess I don't know these people. You know me, I speak to everybody, but even at your event the other day, people were speaking to me, and I don't know who that is.
It's like, I don't know these people.
I'm nice to everybody. But there is another side when you become your brand. Like, unfortunately, anything that has your name on it will impact your own success. When people say Oprah, whether they like her or not, they know that she's not going to play. So discuss how you went through that process of becoming a brand, because that doesn't happen overnight.
Oh no. It always takes adjustments, and you really have to learn and watch other people when it comes to the particular brands. And I've learned, like, I've worked under people, and I've learned, and you have to learn how to be a steward and a good learner, of what because we don't know it all when you're trying to get into this industry. You may be the greatest. You may feel like you're the greatest. You may have some skills, but it don't mean that you know everything about business. It don't mean you know everything about, publicity. Like, there are things that you need to learn, but you have to constantly make adjustments. Like, we live in a society that is very sensitive. We live in a society where people, they'll like you one day, and the next moment they don't like you no more by just something that you said, and there was something that may have been taken out of context. So for my brand, I focus on uplifting. I focus on inspiration. I focus on empowerment. Like, that's my brand. That's what's comfortable to me, So if there's anything, that happens in the media, I'm careful about what I speak about, because it goes against who I represent as a person, number one, because your brand is really what you're representative of as your person, as your persona. And so when it comes to anything negative, like, even if I, don't agree with the actions of another individual, I'm not going to go in on them on social media, because it doesn't represent my brand. My brand is about empowerment. And so I stick in my lane, and I stay in my lane in order for my brand to be consistent. And that's the main thing about branding: consistency. Making sure that every level of your brand, the way you walk, the way you talk to people, how you interact with people, because it all matters. We need people for our brand. How do you? It's branding is not about how you come off; it's how people see you. That's what it's about. And so, I want to be seen in a positive light. I don't want to be seen as, oh, this negative person, and this you know a person that's decriminate I'm trying to say decriminalizing to our LGBT folks, or like give a negative connotation when it comes to black people or whatever it might be. You know what I'm saying? So it's really about knowing yourself, knowing what you represent, and having a clear vision of the goals that you're trying to reach and what your story is saying to other people. Because whatever you're putting out there, oh, it's going to come back in future tense. So you got
That's
to
true.
represent yourself.
And so you brought up something, I'm big on education. I got people on here with PhDs and everything watching this interview. I am not, and someone said one time I want everybody to go to college. I have never said that in my life. I am a proponent of college, and that's what I do. But I want everybody to be skilled in what they do. And I just told somebody the other day, I'm not going to go to a barber that doesn't have any training, because I might have to get somebody to get some bail money. Women are not going to go to beauticians that don't know how to do relaxers and color. I think people need to be trained. And you just
Yeah.
brought something up where you said you've worked under some people. So how
Yeah.
do you experience when you are a visionary and a creative? How do you process working under someone when you have your own thoughts and views?
You under working. One thing I've learned under working with different people and different companies, like I've worked under different production companies, I was able to learn what was lacking.
Hmm.
And I would look, and even if I gave a suggestion and they didn't take it, I would like, okay, that's something that maybe I can tackle. Because I'm one of them people where I'm not gonna complain about it. I'm just gonna go do it. You know what I'm saying? And so when it came to, like, before I became a director and I wrote my first series, I knew that there was a lack of trans women actresses in the web series community. There was a lack. There was hardly in. There was like really none. And so, when I pitched my ideas to particular people, and I say, well, you thought about working with the trans one females? Like, I think it'd be really good. At the time, certain people weren't biting that idea. It wasn't the vision for them, and that's okay. I made it my vision. So I learned, you know, I took bits and pieces of what they were doing, and I applied it, and I made my adjustments, and that's the main thing that you ought to do when you're under somebody is really pay attention and watch. Don't just be there just to be there. Like, you have to really really watch, and also do your research, like, and see, like read comments. Like, I used to read comments of, like, on these YouTube shows. I used to just go read comments because I want to know what do y'all want to see.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so I'm learning it constantly under working with somebody, and that is the greatest gift, to be able to learn in that process before you're able to tackle something, because now you're coming into something with a level of experience because you have done it.
And I think that that's important. Our generations are a little more able to sit back and learn. But
Yeah.
this next generation, I mean, they just want to jump to the top. There's no process. My grandmother, my aunt calls the microwave generation. She wants to have
Okay.
a microwave in her house because they have to have everything instant. But success that is going to last cannot be instant, because there is a learning and a molding, part of that. And I can relate to even what you said earlier about leaving your job. I had a very good job. I enjoyed my job. It was
Mhm.
stable. I had benefits.
Okay.
And when the Lord's like, it's time for you to go, I was like, no. Because then, a lot of stuff shifts. The
Yeah.
lifestyle to which I had become accustomed shifted
Yeah.
literally overnight. We have a good question here, and I don't know if you can answer for the next 3 months, but what are 3 things you're looking forward to completing in the next 3 or 5 or however many months you're looking
And the next three great things, I want to finish a another visual project. I want to work on that. I also want to start some music. I want to get back into my music. And and I want to book some solid bookings for this new dreamland space. So the goal is money. Like that's my goal for 2021, money. And like I've been prayed about that. Like I'm not wavering in that. Like I've always been like, well, I'm humble and I'll have what I have. And no, I want money. Like that's my goal. And so in order to obtain just a certain level of abundance, that is my three goals. That and I'm just make that for this year, not for 3 months. Just this year.
And I am working on the same thing this year because I have sacrificed financially the last couple of years a whole lot, and I've been telling everybody, no, my goal this year is to make some money because we've invested so much in making things happen.
Yeah.
Okay, like I want to reap some of these rewards I'm supposed to get.
Okay, I'm tired of planting these seeds and looking at them like, okay, when they're gonna grow? I'm tired of it.
And everybody else is seeds are growing that's attached to you, and you still like.
Okay. Can I get something to sprout?
Dreamland.
Yeah.
So this was, sometimes you come out of left field on me and you were like, I'm getting a space. And I was like, what the hell is he going to do with a space? And then the next thing I saw, it was like a blank warehouse. And I'm like, what in the world has this boy gone and bought? I mean, and it was just like the whole process. I was like, the Lord must be leading him. I mean, he in here putting in toilets and I watch all the Let's Make It Work videos. And he's not a plumber. What is he doing? So how did you get that vision? Like, what is it? What do you want? I'm going to put your website up so people can go in there and book. But like, where did that idea come from? Because you can have a successful directing and production career and not have your own.
Yeah. Well, when I honestly, I was looking for a space. I knew I wanted to open something, right? In 2012. And I would just be on all of the commercial sites looking at buildings. I have $1 to my name, but I had faith and I'm like, I want a building. Like, and the Lord was just like, it's just not time. It's just not time. And I'm like, okay, but I had forgot about it. And then in 2016, I revisited the idea. I want a space. Still wasn't time. I'm like, oh, dang, I ain't got the money to do it. Like, whatever. And then I was minding my business. And then I woke up and I was like, I feel like I can. And it was during the pandemic. And it was like, now is the time. And I'm like, I kept feeling it. And I was like, well, I'm not going to look because I don't want to get in my feelings that they're not going to happen. And this is so it just like I said, that nagging, when God is speaking to you, it's just a nagging and it's just a nagging. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And I'm like, I'm not going to, I was walking around my complex one day and I was talking to God. I said, look, this is what I want. I want a space. I'm not taking no for answer. Like, this is what I want. I said, I knew what I wanted. So when it actually happened and I was looking and I was getting discouraged because I was getting a lot of no's. And then like, I got a yes. I finally got a yes. And then that fell through. And I was like, well, maybe it's just not, time. And then something said, okay, I got up and something said, look one more time. I look one more time. And, after this, I'm just going to be done with it. So I logged on to this site and I'm like, oh, that's around the corner. Okay, cool. So I called a lady. She was like, okay, yeah, you can go check it out. The key just, you got a lock and you just put the code in, you go check it out. I'm like, okay, it was kind of easy. Like, it was easy. And so went there like the next 7 minutes, because once again, it's around the corner, and opened the door. It was like a feeling. I just knew. I was like, this is it. This is it. I seen the vision. So I felt it. So I went in there and I had called G, the one I mean my business partner. I was like, I said, welcome to the new dreamland. I said, this is it. I hadn't even signed a contract. I said, this is it. I ain't signed a contract. I ain't get a yes or nothing. I just knew. And so, like, when after we did the process and, I got the keys, I walked in and, I was excited, but I seen how I wanted everything. I knew the layout, I knew everything. And, like, to this day, everything looks exactly how I seen it in my head, exactly how I described it to my friends, exactly like that day. I was telling, I said, I want this here, I want that there, I want this like that. Everything is exactly how I described it. And so it's like, and like after it, the real work started because I signed the lease and all of this, and then the struggle happened. And then I was like, oh, you got to pay for this. You got to pay for this business license. You got to pay for that. Oh, you got to get fire marshal. You got to get this. And I'm like, whoa. And it's so much that I had to do and so much that I was up against. And then mind you, this is new territory for me. So I'm like, my heart is beating. I'm stressed out every day. I'm like, and this is why I kind of like stayed away from social media because I'm stressed at this point. I got a lot on my plate. And so when like as I was going, like I just noticed how like God was providing. Like I was so busy living in the future of what I didn't have, I wasn't recognizing what God was providing every day. He brought the children out of Israel, out of Egypt, and the children of Israel out of Egypt, and how he was providing for them every day. You know what I'm saying? And I was just like, wow, maybe I don't need to have all the answers. I just need to live in the moment and continue. And I'm gonna be honest and transparent. It got to a point where I didn't, because I had a build out for a few months, and I got to the month where I had to pay the rent. This is the first time me paying the rent, and I'm like, I don't fucking have it. Mind you, we're living in the pandemic. I just lost my job, and I don't have the rent. I'm stressed. You know, I'm literally one day sitting in the middle of the studio crying my eyes out because I'm like, why did you bring me this far? Like I'm so confused. Damn it. Within 2 days, had it out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. And it's like teaching me to build, is like I'm building my faith, but I'm also learning how to trust God a little more each day. And I know sometimes we struggle with that. And somebody gave me some really good advice. This guy, when I was going to book the space with him, he was like, and I didn't actually go through with it. He was like, well, I'm gonna just give you some advice. He was like, you just gotta go for it. And whatever you do, you'll figure it out. Don't be scared because you'll figure it out. And I just kept replaying that in my head, like, it's just gonna work. And I'm still having my moments, but that's just the human part of me. But it's a struggle. The struggle is real.
Well, that leads us right into this question. What would be your message to the person who has the drive and the will but doesn't realize that they have a self-sabotaging spirit?
Oh, that is so good because I think we all have that self-sabotaging. Even your thoughts can be self-sabotaging, even if you're not trying to. Those like it's so easy to think negative when you're faced with adversity when it's right like looking you in your face, and I would just say in those moments, honor your silence. Honor your silence. You really have to take a moment to decompress your thoughts, your feelings, what's happening around you, and honor your silence. Like it's been times where I had to just, okay, I ain't doing nothing today, but writing in my journal, my affirmations, I'm meditating, and I'm just gonna be quiet. I'm just gonna be quiet. And sometimes that's all you need to do. Because sometimes we get in the way. God is working behind the scenes, and we're trying to get in the way because we're trying to make something happen quicker than what it needs to happen. But there's a timing, there's a divine timing for everything. And so the person that has those self-sabotaging ways, I would say, do not speak negatively over yourself. Because it starts with our speech, it starts with our thoughts. When you do have those negative thoughts, replace them with positive thoughts. You know, it's always is a work. You have to continue to work at that. And you also have to learn how to not listen to your outside sources of
Mm.
people that don't have your vision because it wasn't given to them. So the people that tell you, well, it ain't possible or it may not work out, or whatever, those people you don't want to listen to. If you know that you know within your heart and within your spirit and in your intuition that this is something that you are led to do, then you're supposed to do it no matter what is in front of you. You're supposed to do it. And your the biggest person you have to overcome is your own self-sabotaging behaviors and habits. And that takes practice and don't happen overnight. You have to replace those negative thoughts and that negative language over your life. And I'm telling you, you'll start to see results. And keep your energy high. Like your positive energy, that you'll attract more things by keeping your energy high.
Now you do that because you be on 5,000 every time, and I was like, yep. I even took pictures at this event, and you all know I don't take any pictures anywhere. I don't carry camera, I don't do nothing. But I think that you're bringing up something that's very important, and you touched on it. But I just want to delve into it more, which is remove people from your inner circle who are not going to support your vision. I mean, you cannot, if the Lord has told you something, you can't have a lot of people around you that are helping you. And then every time they come around, all they're doing is telling you how this is not a good idea. Or, well, this is a lot of work. Don't you should quit. I learned years ago, I get rid of those people. And there are only a few people that I discuss parts of my vision with.
Oh, yeah.
Because no one really will ever see it as fully as you. But there are like 5 people in my life who will attempt to support.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I do some crazy things, like crazy. Like years ago, I called people. I said, "Oh, I moved to Austria." They're like, "Austria? What do you mean?" I'm like, like over next to Germany.
But out of nowhere.
I didn't tell people. I told my mother, and that was like my siblings. That's it. But that's an important factor when you said external forces. And sometimes the people are not doing it intentionally to be negative. You have friends that's just who they are, and those are the ones that you don't need to be around.
Yeah.
Or who don't need to be around you. And that's why, I knew when you got this space, I did not see the vision. That was not my vision. And all I did was support you every time you texted or whatever. Yeah, whatever you need, I got you.
And I thank you for that.
I didn't know what the hell was going on. And I go back to it every time I see that video you put in the toilet. I'm like, Lord, if he floods this whole place out.
Yeah, okay. Listen, and that was my absolute first time ever dealing with a toilet in that capacity. So, but I'm one of those people that if I can't get it done, because I had been struggling to get a plumber, and I had 2 to stand me up. And I'm just sitting in the studio like, this man that stood me up. He won't answer my text. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a trip to Home Depot. And I went to Home Depot. I grabbed that toilet by myself, put it in my trunk, and I can drive a Chrysler 200. I put that toilet in my trunk, drove it back, and guess what? I said, we installing the toilet today.
Well, and then, we saw it in the video and the toilet was in and you flushed it and nothing flooded. I was like, okay, we did it. But, so it's a space that you will utilize, but people can rent it out. So discuss that some. And I have the website up on the screen, people to write that down, but they can rent it for what? What type?
They can rent it. Really, it's a multi-use facility. And so it caters the everyday photographer or model. it caters the everyday choreographer or dancer. If you want to book it out for dance rehearsal, you have that capacity. If you want to book it out for photo shoots, you have that capacity. Video shoots, you have that capacity. Your birthday party, you have that capacity. So it really it's really for and everybody, and I encourage people to use the space how you want to use the space. One thing that I wanted to do with the space is make everything kind of movable, so that way if you want to move the bar to another part of the room, you can do that. You can really set it up and design it how you want it, how you would like it. And so yeah, it's really for everybody. So artists that want to do like artist showcase, or release their music and do the music release parties or whatever, you can do that. And so it if you just have 5 people, you can use it. If you have 100 people, you can use it. And so I think that's the great thing about the space, to be able to cater to multiple different individuals, businesses. So I would love to see the space used for workshops. I would love to see the space used for screenings. I would love to see the space used for those photo sessions and those model sessions and whatever. And like it's a well-rounded space. And so when I was looking for it, I knew that I wanted it to be 20% office, 80% warehouse, because it would give me the capacity to use those walls in different ways. And so yeah, you can really do anything.
And
We just had a whole party.
I'm picky, and it is a really nice space because when I first pulled up, I was like, Lord, let this be nice. But
Oh,
it is really, I mean, it's really nice. It
thank
was
you.
clean and it was really adaptable. And I'm glad people had on masks and things because I get my anxiety is high these days. But it was enough space for people to be in there comfortably and not be crowded.
Yeah.
I like the lights. It's got some, lights. So it's a really nice, diverse space.
Yeah.
So this is Dr. Pickett. This is my brother,
Yes, Dr. Pickett.
and he knows everybody. People think I know folks. No, he pretty much knows everybody. So
Yeah.
if he's gonna be working, helping to get it booked out, then it probably will be.
Well, I'm down. I'm down for that connection, Dr. Pickett. Come on. Come to Dreamland.
So what motivates Rahim Brazil?
One thing that motivates me is uh my ancestors, um, my family. I look at my family as, we didn't have much, and there are not a lot of people in my family that have accomplished something big. And so, and in most of my family, if y'all don't know, I'm from Baltimore. Baltimore, let me say it the right way. I'm from Baltimore, and you know, we, life was hard, you know, and it trickles down through generation. So what motivates me is to change that narrative, you know. So when I have kids, they don't have to deal with the lack and the poverty and the things that I was accustomed to, as a child growing up. Um, and I really say that it stops with me. It stops here. We have to change our family history as we know it. You know, the things that we've been through, the struggles, and the dealing with the alcoholism and the drugs and all of that. Somebody has to stand up and stop it. You know, so that's one thing that motivates me. The other thing that motivates me is um wanting to leave a legacy of empowerment, to, to where as though I am remembered, and by how I touch people, how I connected with people. I think that's very important for me. I don't want to just be another human that was just here. It was just here. And I think we have the capacity to touch, everybody that we meet. And if I can touch people with my gifts and my talents and the things that I have done, then I know that I'm doing the work that God has placed inside of me, and I'm offering that back as a gift to Him, because they'll take that gift and, like, even with this live, somebody might be inspired by the words that I'm saying. They might go write their next book, you know even things like that. Like, if I can get on my live and I can just tell them my testimony and what I've been through and how I was able to achieve the things that I'm doing, then maybe they'll look at that artistry as of something of importance and go in and really do what they need to do. And so those things motivate me. And the last thing that motivate me is the minority of it all. Coming from an LGBT background, which I'm not an LGBT artist or an LGBT creator, I'm just an artist. But to have us reach milestones to where though we are respected for our gifts first and our bodies last, you know, like that motivates me to be able to kind of change the narrative of what we look like to the outside world. Like, we all look like one thing, or we all look flamboyant, or we all whatever the stigma is when it comes to the community itself. Like, we can be creative. We are creative. We are, highly intelligent. We all, you know what I'm saying? Like, there are things that we can reach other milestones. We can get Emmys, we can get Grammys, we can get, like, so those are the things that motivate me to continue to push forward in the manner that I'm pushing forward today.
So that leads me right into my next question. So I have been impressed with the diversity of your casting, with the diversity of your storyline. And there are some people in your products that, people are like, why the hell has he put that person in there? Or they know them, and I'll just be very, PG. They know them from other arenas. And they're like, oh, I didn't know that person had any talent. So why is diversity so important to you? How do you determine, okay, for instance, I'm going to really make part of my work providing opportunities to the trans community? I mean, when I worked in higher ed, I always tell people my job is to represent every student on my campus. I don't care if they're gay, straight,
Yeah.
sexual, transgender, white, black, rich, poor. So why have you made that such an important part of your work?
Because I see the need, and like I said, I'm one of those people that, I'm not going to sit and complain about it or the lack thereof. I see the need. I'll be diligent enough to tackle it, and not just that. I see talent before I see gender or sexuality or whatever. I see talent. I can, like, I'm one of those people and directors that I can look at a person and I want to know how much I can pull out of them. Like, I'm pretty sure y'all know Sherrod Antoine. He's done a lot of great stuff in, you know, reality TV to acting to dancing. He's a well-rounded individual, and he also has a negative connotation when it comes to his career or whatever. And so, but he's also my friend, and I also see greatness inside of him. And so, one of the things that, like, when I put him in the last movie, When Love Takes Over, I said, I want to see you. I want to challenge you to be something different. You know, I want to take you out of being just overly sexualized to seeing if you can really emote. And I like to pick the brains of the artist. And so I have these conversations like, well, how do you feel about this character? What do you think this character was feeling? You know? And sometimes we allow ourselves to get stuck into different roles and to different things, and we allow us to pinpoint what this person is, and we don't give them a fair shot to grow or to elevate. And so, like, I don't think it's harmful to be able to pull things out of the individual in order to help them grow to see their own potential, you know?
And let me just say, Sherrod and I have become friends recently. He is probably one of the nicest and most genuinely nice people I've encountered.
Yeah.
I don't generally like people. So for people to come up to me and approach me is rare because, I usually have my face on please don't come over here. I would rather be anywhere but in this venue.
Right.
He is generally probably one of the nicest people. Even he's checked on me when he's seen a post or something that has concerned him. And so I'm glad that you are giving people an opportunity, not just for your work, but really to discover what they can be.
Yeah.
Because I think that's part of the creative process. Sometimes people don't know what they can produce. When I got to painting, there was no choir. So when I had this choir up here singing all this music and doing concerts and traveling, people were like, and I was not at a school or music program. So none of my students were studying voice or music or anything. We had to do all of that work. And, many of them are still close to me now. So I can certainly align with what you're saying. And sometimes it's about pulling out of the people what you see and perhaps they don't.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, I think that's a very important part of the process. What, Lord, he just used the word emote. That just blessed my whole life. So, as we move to the final part, if you had the opportunity to have everything you needed for the next 2 or 3 years, what would you need?
Ooh, that's a good question. Definitely mental support. Definitely. Because you can't do this alone. We need people. So definitely mental support. The other thing I would say, good health. Um, and financial support. The producing movies and producing shows and doing everything that we want to do, it takes money. That's just what it is. And so I'm looking for individuals that are going to believe in my vision and maybe partner with me on tackling some of these projects or whatever, and not just that type of support, but support from our community to be able to watch these shows and watch and to tune in and to subscribe to. We watch everything else and everybody else. We have to learn how to support one another on our level, and don't be scared to share one little video on your timeline and stuff like that. And so community, I would just say community support.
So in our closing, because I believe in keeping my stuff right down to the time.
Okay.
What thoughts that you'd like to share? What are some things that you want people to know about you? Oh, we got a question. What's one challenge that occurred during this experience that you are glad happened?
One challenge that occurred during this experience, who I'm going to say one challenge is I lost a lot of friends, and I'm glad that happened. It taught me how to be a strong individual. It gave me mental clarity. It gave me strength, and it taught me how to stand up for myself. So, yeah.
Well, and you all know, anytime my brother asks, the answer is yes. If I have to figure out how to make it work, the answer is yes. He might have to remind me because of my age.
Okay.
But so what I was closing with was, what are some things that you'd like to share, some things about you or the journey or words of inspiration to people who might be watching? Because there will be a lot of college students and young people and up and comings that will watch this on replay as well.
Yeah. So words of encouragement, I would definitely encourage people watching or whoever will see this to really get serious about whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. Um, get detailed about it, have a clear vision of what goals you are trying to reach, and definitely do your homework. Especially for my actors and music artists out there, if you don't have a bio or a good photo, I just like that really kind of irritates me because it's like, how serious are you about your career if you don't have a proper photo to send me or like to send anybody? You can't audition with a photo of you at a gas station. Like I just don't get that. Like, so, and like everything is about how you represent yourself, going back to that branding thing. And so definitely that's a part of doing your homework and taking that sacrifice to spend how much a headshot, so like $50 to $100. Like it don't take a lot to get things like that done. So it's really about, do your due diligence to get serious about your career. Don't take no for an answer, and continue. No matter what it feels like. Just get up the next day, because it ain't about, every day is gonna feel good. Some days are not gonna feel good. Some performances are not gonna be good. Some, projects may fail. That don't mean you stop. That just means you learn from that and you continue. So you got to continue.
And I tell my mentees and students stuff all the time that at the end of the day, the people don't care. When I'm not feeling well or when I'm having a day where I'm an introvert. So it takes a lot. Like, to come to your opening, it took me 7 hours to prepare mentally to come to that, because at my core, I'm an introvert. So I was going to be around all these people, and everyone, I'm tall as hell. So, everybody's going to see me.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot for that to happen. And so I think it's important what you're saying. A lot of things you said tonight. One about self-care, that is important. And often, we are our own worst enemies.
Yeah.
And so as we close, I want to thank you for what you're doing. I want to make sure that the people also go to your website.
Yes.
We have a couple of final comments here. You have grown to be a successful person. I always enjoyed your growth and everything you put out every year. Keep up the good work, Rahim.
Thank you, Carl. I appreciate that.
And that's true. I can say that the products you put out are worth it. And as you said, it extends beyond any single community. When I went to the screening, that storyline could have been shifted with any character base.
Yeah.
And I was mad at the people afterwards because, it was a really good movie. And then I didn't want to talk to them and I left because I was irritable. But that means it's a good movie.
Right.
And so just thank you for what you're doing. People support, like you said, money is key. All of us know money is important, but when you're doing production stuff, there are a whole lot of expenses and things that come up that you might not have known on the front end. So we want to make sure that you all support him financially. And as he said, just, share his stuff. If people are acting, get their stuff to his company. And along those lines, we have iPhones, and some people have Androids, but we have iPhones now. And those cameras are not like the cameras in the 80s. So you can, if you are even under a financial struggle, take a nice headshot with a nice wall behind you.
Yeah.
I've had that thing too. Like, I just hired a new staff position, and people were sending me like their Facebook profiles, and that looks unprofessional. And don't, because someone in your eyes might be up and coming, that, you can just send whatever crap you want to send.
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to hire you at any level. So thank you. Don't sign off, Rahim. I'm going to pull you off the screen. I'm going to give a couple of final comments, and I'll be right back with you.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. See y'all.
So, everyone, I hope you enjoyed today's interview. Like I said, we're doing some things that are different this season. I enjoyed that conversation. It will be available on my YouTube channel after tomorrow. And just a couple of additional things. One, we are raising money for the Scholarship Fund, the Woodson Fund. If you go to my website, you can get to those links. We are trying to raise $5,000 for students in schools that are trying to complete their studies this year. And we're also looking at some different things in terms of Black history. Don't forget, tomorrow, I have another show, and we are going to be talking home ownership. So if you are interested in buying a home, if you're thinking about buying a home, if you think that home ownership is not for you, get on this live and let's have a chat. Because I have been so surprised with people across this country who are spending all of this money on rent, $2,000-$3,000 a month on rent, when you could potentially be preparing to own your home, which is an investment in your life. And then don't forget, all of our shows are also sponsored by a few companies, one of which is now one of my favorite coffee companies. And that says a lot because, I drink coffee left, right, sideways. If you go on their website and use this code Woodson20, you will get a discount, but they will also contribute to our scholarship fund. Thanks so much, and I hope that everyone has enjoyed this show, and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good evening. Is that it? I have to make sure. Yep, that's it. Talk to you all soon.